everyone. Welcome to Make Moments Matter, a music education podcast where I share lesson ideas, songs, games, and inspiring things for your elementary music classroom. My name is David Rao, and I am the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. This episode of the podcast is a replay containing the audio version of a Musical Mondays live video. If you're not familiar with Musical Mondays, every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I go live on Facebook and Instagram to share about the lessons that I'm using in class with my students. I give a recap of my kindergarten through 5th grade lessons and then do a deep dive about one grade level and share the books, instruments, songs, and process that I use to teach the lesson to kids. This podcast episode contains all the audio from the Musical Mondays video, but if you'd like to see a replay of the video itself, you can find a link to the archived video on YouTube when you click the link in the notes for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Here's the show. Hey everyone, my name is David Rao, and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find my ideas on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and a variety of other places when you search for my name, David Rao, or Make Moments Matter. Tonight I'm going to be talking about my most recent concert, which was the 2nd grade, all about food. I'm going to talk about how I planned it, how I prepped it, all the things that went into that, some of the props, some of the costumes, all of that stuff, and just sort of explain the process, talk about it as if you and I are just two bestie music teacher friends sitting down, talking over coffee or an adult beverage, talking about how the concert went. So that's my plan in just a minute. First, before I do that, if you hear about any songs, books, resources, things that you're interested in that you want to check out for yourself, there's a whole page on my blog that's dedicated to all the things I talk about in these videos, so you don't have to go track down those links yourself. You can just click the link at the bottom of wherever you're watching or listening to this, and you should find a direct link there, or you can go to my blog, makemomentsmatter.org, and click the video tab. It should be right there in the drop-down. Also, if you want, there's a Facebook group you can join called Every Moment Matters Music Education Community, a great place to ask questions, make friends, learn new things. I hope you will join us. Oh, and one more thing. I'm going to be in Austin, Texas in like a little less than a month on March 25th. I'm going to be in Austin with the the Capital Area ORF chapter. And I'm going to be doing a session all about improvisation and how to take something and change it, add to it, work with it, play around with students. So if you're in the Austin area and you want to come join us, we would love to have you. Austin, San Antonio, wherever, anywhere around within, whatever driving distance of Austin, we'd love to have you. So see you in a month, hopefully, at Capital Area ORF. You can find more information about that if you search Capital Area ORF, or just go to my blog and click About Me. You should be able to find that workshop. Okay, so let's talk about concerts. So I'm just going to approach this as if you and I are teacher besties and we're just sitting down for a recap. How did it go? To sort of talk through what I liked, what I didn't like, how it went. But I'm going to give a little bit more to sort of give you more information about sort of how I planned this concert and everything that goes into that. So this specific concert, it was with my 2nd graders. I start thinking about concerts about a year out. So I am already thinking about 4th and 5th grade, which I've done already this year. I just, now that I'm finished with 2nd grade, I'm like, I guess I'm going to start thinking about the 2nd grade. But a couple reasons for that. I just like to sort of have things in my head. So as I go throughout the year, if I go to a workshop or I see something in a book or I find a new children's book that I feel like matches the theme of what I'm going to be going for, I sort of put that in a sort of a list to help me think about what's coming up. In fact, I don't know if I even brought the actual list I worked on, but I have a piece of paper in my room that says 2nd grade 24 or 23, 24, whatever. And if I have the theme, I start listing out just as I go through the year, this could work, this could work, this could work, this could work. And I sort of start far out. So about a year out is when I start thinking about what I want to do. And it's not really a very concrete plan, but next year for 5th grade, I was what if I did the Prairie Ridge Elementary news, and we could report from the playground, and we could report from whatever. There are so many cool things that we could pull into that. How could I pull that off? And I'm starting to think about it. And I also have a loose plan to do a time travel concert next year. But anyway, so those are like things that I just like sort of put in the hopper and think about. But that's like, I start making a list of like, okay, if I was going to do a news themed one, what could I do? I could do a weather thing. I could do local news. I could do like an interest story. It could be like a dog story, or, like I could do like a personal interest story. Like, what could I do? So I started thinking about some of those things ahead of time. But anyway, that's like about a year out. It was very, very, very loose. The other reason I sort of think about that is because if I can think a little bit ahead of time and even just have like a very loose sort of idea, I can warn parents ahead of time. So like last year at my first grade concert, I put up a little banner scrolling around in the pre-concert slideshow I do that says, next year, second grade is doing a show about food. So start finding, or, as you're going through the year, think about costumes or whatever. It's going to be food themed. Just like for some of those parents who, when they get to a concert, they're like, well, it would have been nice at Halloween to know we're going to do something food because I could have saved, So I like to have some of that planned out ahead of time. It's never perfect. Things change, but that's just sort of how I plan just a little bit. So then the year of the concert, so like this year in August, I had out in front of me, in like pre-planning, I had like all my concerts set out, and I had like one page of paper, and it just said like second grade. It had the day of the concert, and it had that basic theme. And then as I go through the year, I continue to think about, okay, well, what can I pull in? And part of the reason I do that, and I try and do that ahead of time, is because I don't want to take a lot of time out of the normal scope and sequence of things to plan for a concert and just have like a throwaway song, something that doesn't really fit in or that I'm teaching just for the concert. And so what I love to do is to have that sort of general theme at the beginning of the year and then plan all my lessons through the year and hope that, I don't plan all my lessons for the whole year, but as I'm going through the year, I think like, okay, I could do this great activity. It's an improvisation activity. It's a small group activity. We can incorporate instruments, blah, blah, blah. What if I made sure it was food themed? If I taught it and it was food themed, I could pull that back out and use it again for the concert in February. Or, okay, I've got to teach blah, 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 cumulative song. I know one. There's a food one, like I just sort of like, as I'm going through the year, if I know that's my theme, as I'm going and teaching all my standards through the year, I can think, could I do this food themed? Could I plan it? Could this one be about fruit? Could I, instead of picking this one partner song, could I pick this other partner song to teach this year because it's food related or it's a grocery store thing or whatever, so if I have that sort of general idea far out in advance, then as I plan through the year, I can plan that. So when I get to a concert, I don't have to spend like 8 weeks frantically trying to teach random stuff. I can say, hey, you remember that activity we did in October? Well, guess what? We're going to pull that out and use that again. Or, hey, remember that song we learned in December? We're going to use that for our concert. So it means that I have to teach less right before the concert, but also that like what I am pulling out for their concert is actually related to their curriculum for the year. So that's another reason to plan further out in advance. Just sort of think of those things further in advance so that as you're planning thoughtfully through the year, you can include that themed content, but then also have it to pull out. So because several of the songs in this concert I taught in the fall just as standalone lessons or lessons that were part of their regular curriculum, and then I just brought them back, sort of repackaged them a little bit, and then presented them for the concert. Okay, so that's sort of my idea of like how I plan or why I plan. And then, so my goals as I was going to this concert also was I wanted to have several songs that were great for the grade level, that were fun, that parents would remember, that would be just catchy and maybe silly and fun. Because again, second grade in my head is like, I want it to be fun. I want them to have a great time. I want them to be smiling a lot. I just want them to love music. And so if I can have sort of even if, silly concert or fun or whatever, catchy things, then that's great. And it gets parents really excited. And if I could show off the curriculum and how they've learned through the year at the same time, that's, win-win-win. So one of the things I really wanted to do was I wanted to feature each class separately. This concert only had 3 homerooms in it because it's sort of a small grade level. Usually I have 4 or maybe 5 in a grade level, 4 or 5 homerooms. This one only had 3. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to feature each homeroom and give each one like their own sort of special song that had a special poem or whatever that they could be featured on. A couple reasons. One, I wanted them to be more sort of front and center so parents could like get a better picture of like their kid performing or whatever. I wanted them to have that moment. I also wanted kids to feel like this is like our special song. Like that, okay, Miss Whoever's class did this other one, but we got to do the one about blah, blah, blah. And so I like to be able to do that. Also, it again helps with planning. So instead of spending like 8 weeks planning for a concert, if I pull what I already did in the fall, and if I can plan so that, like in this case, 3 of the songs, I can teach 3 separate lessons. So like the 3 pullouts for this concert, Miss Smith's class, Miss Vaughn's class, Miss Dolan's class. Well, I was teaching separate lessons those days. So, like usually we teach like the same lesson to every homeroom. Well, in this case, I had to teach Miss Dolan's class their special thing, Miss Vaughn's class their special thing, Miss Smith's class their special thing, but I could do that all at the same time. So I'm sort of compressing my window of having to teach stuff, and I'm teaching more in less time. I hope that makes sense. Okay, and I also wanted to feature, there were so many cool books there are so many great children's books that are about food, and I had a couple ideas, and I was like, okay, I think maybe this and maybe this other one. And then I went to my amazing librarian, and I was like, okay, so I have this very general desire to want to do something that's special for each class that's about food. What do you have? Do you have any ideas of what? She was like, oh yeah, there's this one and this one and this one. I was like, oh right, I forgot about these 2, and I didn't even know about this 3rd one. And she's like, oh, and what about this one and this one? I was like, oh yeah, great, I've never heard it. Then she's like, this one's really, kids love this one, you should try it. Okay, cool. And then like a half hour later, after our conversation, a random child shows up in my room holding like a bin of extra books that she has also pulled. So anyway, it was so much fun to be able to find all these new books. And then each class got their own feature based around a book and also based around their own sort of thing that we got to do with them. So that was really cool. I'll talk about those songs in just a second. Okay, so my goals are really fun concert, super great memories for parents, and also feature each class if possible. So this one was themed around food, and as I was planning it, I didn't have it's going to be a cafeteria, or it's going to be a grocery store, or it's going to be a restaurant. I had like no plan as I started planning. I was just like, it's going to be food. I don't know. I'll pull the theme together later. Which is maybe, if you have been listening to the last 10 minutes, you're like, wow, David sure knows how to plan. This is the moment where you're like, wait, no, he just had a very sort of loose idea about what he wanted to do, and it somehow came together. So I was teaching all these food songs. I know that I was going to do that. I didn't know exactly how it was going to come together. And even as I was like sending out emails to the parents, I didn't have a title for the concert until like a week and a half before. And I eventually just called it Chef's Choice because I was like, So anyway, it was like, the chef gets to choose, cook's choice of the day, soup of the day or whatever. I mean, so it should have been, I don't know. It could have been soup du jour or whatever. I don't know. But this was just my way of like pulling everything together. So the songs that I included were On Top of Spaghetti, which is the play on Top of Old Smoky. If you don't know that song, on top of spaghetti, all covered with cheese, I lost my poor meatball when somebody sneezed. That's how we opened the show. It was... so many people know that song. So many parents were like, I sang that when I was in elementary school. So it was a great memory, and also the kids loved it. We sang then a second song called Mrs. Murphy's Chowder, which is another old folk song. If you've never heard of it before, there's a link on the links page that can take you to a file I did for it that has all the verses, the history, the vocabulary, all of that. It's a silly little song. And it's because a long time ago, people, before they had washing machines or whatever, would sometimes take like their biggest pot or their biggest basin and wash all their clothes in it. And sometimes if they were like making a super huge meal, maybe they, would make soup in that basin or whatever. Or maybe they just had one huge pot and they used it for washing. They also used it for food. Well, in this song, they're going to this big fancy party and someone dishes out chowder for them, and then at the bottom of the soup pot, they find a pair of overalls. And oh my gosh, it's a huge scandal. Who put these overalls in Mrs. Murphy's chowder? And then it turns out Mrs. Murphy had been doing laundry and forgot to take them out and had just started making chowder and forgot that the overalls were in there. And so it's like her fault. Anyway, it's a super silly song. But the cool thing about it was it had verses and a chorus. And so again, like to save time teaching the song, but also to feature classes, I had each homeroom take a part of a verse. So it's this long story. Oh, Mrs. Murphy had a party just about a week ago. Everything was plentiful, the Murphys like a show. They treated us so well, and so we tried to act the same. But only for what happened, well, it was an awful shame. And so that was the first little tidbit. I taught that to one class. The next class got to tell the next part of the story. They all sang the chorus. The next class got to tell the next part of the story. They all told the last part of the last verse, and then we sang the chorus. But it was like we broke it up so that because the song has so many words, it's so very wordy. It's a ballad, and so it's so much happening that it was easier if I broke it up. So that's what we did for that song. Super funny little song, and the kids really got into it. I was not sure they would, but they definitely did, which was hilarious. And again, that was a new song for a lot of people. Like they had never heard of it before, but it was not a new song. It was a folk song. Then we did this thing called Everything Stew, which is an activity I've talked on here before about, and I linked in the links page. If you want to see a video about the whole process, how I teach that, you can. But basically, I took these food cards that I've made that have foods and rhythms, and kids make a little arrangement, and then with the cards they arrange them however they want. We can read the foods, we can read the rhythms, we can clap the rhythms, we can play a non-pitched instrument, all this stuff. It's all just a classroom lesson that I taught in November of the school year, and we took it and we brought it back and did sort of a rondo where we told a poem, and then each class got to do their own feature of the one of a creation they made. So here's an example. So like one group of kiddos, they made this, and it goes turkey, broccoli, macaroni, carrot, hot chocolate, coffee, cookie, corn. So a bunch of small groups did these on their own. I had them write down their creation to save it, and then I brought it back for this concert. And then I pulled one out from each class, one group, and we did it as a performance for the parents, where we read the food words and then we read the rhythms that go with them. I projected up on the screen the things that so parents basically saw what we had worked with. So here's an example. I projected up on the screen, but I wanted something that my students could read so they didn't have to memorize it. So I basically blew up the cards and I put them in the order they were supposed to be in, and this is what I held out for kids to read. And so they read the food word, and then they read the rhythm that went with it, and then parents could see that up on the screen. So we told a little poem, one class went. We told a poem, another class went. We told a poem, another class went. And when they would perform, they would that class would say all the food words in order, and then say the rhythms in order, and then we go back to the poem. So as we did that, I clicked through, and the parents could see what it was we were reading. And then I had a fourth set of 8 cards of food cards, and I was like, oh well, each class is gone, but that's not enough to feed everyone here, so you all parents are going to have to read this with us. And so the parents, I created one for them where they went through and they read all the foods, and then I was like, this is the ta, way I talked about how we say the words, the rhythms, using rhythm syllables, and so the whole audience got to read. That was super, super fun. And like I said, if you're interested in this poem, or sorry, not the poem, this process or how I did it, I linked on the links page a video that I've talked about previously about how I did all of that. And then come in the books. And on another previous video, I talked about how I came up with the process for these books and what is part of that lesson. So the books that I featured were The Pigeon Finds a Hot Dog, Creepy Carrots, and Bibimbop. And like I said, there's a whole video about how I created for each class the poem that went along with it, or the storytelling that went along with it. And basically what we did was each class came forward. Well, we came off the stage and onto the floor of the gym because there was some movement in some of them and some other stuff. And so like as we were reading the book, the class would interject their little rhythm or their poem or whatever it was that we added to that book. And so each class, we featured one book and we featured that class, which was really cool. And like the week before the concert, I sent home a message to parents saying like, here are the books that are being featured. If you want to get a copy for you or your kid, or if you want to get it from the library, it'd be super cool to like share this at home and experience more of it at home. So here are the books. We also just had a Scholastic book fair, and I was like gonna send them like to go buy it, but none of these books were in the book fair this year. It stunk. So, or on the online book fair, they must not be new enough. But anyway, it was fun to sort of share that because even if the Pigeon Finds a Hot Dog or Creepy Carrots weren't there, of the 3 books, these are by pretty mainline authors, and so they could buy other Mo Willems books if they wanted, and they could buy other books by Aaron Reynolds if they wanted, because this is a whole series and this is a whole series. So if parents wanted to do that, it was fun to be able to tell them a little bit ahead of time that they could do that. So we featured each of those, and then we closed the concert with this song called Pizza Love. It's a Music K8 song. It's like parodies like 1950s, sort of like... I don't know how to describe it, but the chorus is like, whoa, pizza, oh pizza, on my brain, make it pepperoni or make it plain, my pizza, 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 whoa. It's a super like silly like 50s jukebox song, but about pizza and how much the kids love pizza. And so in the song are some hilarious moments. We got to do lots of different heart shapes. They taught me all the like different ways we could do it, and so it was fun to be able to do that. They got really dramatic and really into talking about how much they loved pizza. There's a part in the song where there's like, oh my pizza, I love you so. And at that moment, I created these at my old school, I did this where like I had these hidden in a pizza box, but they were sort of unwieldy and hard for kids to open. So this year, because I've done this song before for a concert. So this year, I just took yardsticks, and on the end of the yardstick, I made these pizzas in the shape of a heart. And so this was pretty hilarious that the kids just like, they held it up and waved. And so I made different ones, by the way. So I've got, this one is like pepperoni, green pepper, black olive, and onion. This one is onion, hamburger, black olive, green pepper, and then this one is just pepperoni and onion. So anyway, these were hilarious. The kids held up and they got to wave around and made it for a great photo op. And I said after the concert was over, I was like, okay, parents, if you want to come up and take photos on the risers, all that, cool. You could your kid can hold up one of the hearts, even if they didn't hold it for the concert. Of course, you could grab one for a photo op. So it was great for a photo op. These basically were just construction paper cut in the shape of hearts. These are all just little construction paper pieces I cut out. And then on the back is foam core to sort of give it a little bit of strength. And then it's all just taped down. This is held together with like Elmer's glue and a prayer. Well, it was a glue stick. But anyway, so that was all how I made those. Okay, let's talk about how I sort of themed all of this together and pulled it all together. And the sort of connective stuff that went with that, and then sort of the extras that I added, costumes, that sort of stuff. So that was the rundown of all the songs. The connective sort of tissue that joined it all together. It is my personal belief that I don't want students younger than 3rd grade to have speaking parts. A lot of reasons for that. One, I don't really think it's developmentally appropriate for them. I don't feel like putting a student in a microphone in front of 250 people when they're that young is going to help build their confidence to want to be a performer long term. I already have so many kids who are like, I have stage fright, which I'm sure they hear from people and just parrot even whether they do or not. But I want them to just like anything below third grade, I just want them to have so much fun. I want them to feel happy up on stage. I want them to love being on stage. I don't want them to feel the pressure of having to know their line, where it is, who, I just, like, me personally, I don't think it's appropriate for them, and so I just don't do it. And so how do you build connective tissue if you don't have, like, some speaking parts in there? So usually that involves me coming up with some bonkers story or something to go along, or we base it all on a book. In the past, I've had there was one show where the librarian came out and was like, welcome to the Francis Willard Elementary book night. I'm so happy to be here to read the book. And I was like, excuse me, it's not book night. It's a concert night. And she was like, what? So like she and I back and forth would have these conversations between songs, and she would read passages of the book. That was super fun. I've also done the same sort of thing once with the counselor at my school, where the emojis had all escaped, and so she and I would talk back and forth, and then that would like lead to the next song. For this concert, I recorded the like chime sound that comes on anytime there's an announcement on my school. It's like da-da. It's very iconic to all the students and like weird to our school. It's not just like beep beep beep. It's just like weird ding ding, like I don't know how to describe it, but so I recorded that, and then every day we have a student come on the announcements in the morning, and they do the PRE news, the Prairie Ridge Elementary News. And in that news, they say like the day, the weather, joke of the day, fun fact for the day. They announce any birthdays that day. They say the lunch order for the day. They announce like other news, stuff that needs to happen, and then they do the Pledge of Allegiance and the Prairie Paw Pledge. Like every day, the students hear it every day. They all know it. And so I did the little chime sound, and before the kids sang any song, the chime, and I started as if I was the one giving the announcements for the day. How exciting. I get to the announcements. I pre-recorded all of this. So I could just like hit play and it could go, and I wouldn't have to worry about it, and I could scurry around and do whatever I had to do for the concert. But the chime went on, and so I started doing the announcements, and then I pre-record. In that pre-recording, it was like someone comes in and interrupts me and is like, they've already done this. And I was like, what? And I'm like, they've already done the announcements. You shouldn't be doing the announcements. Like, oh, sorry. But I still like tell my joke of the day, and I say the lunch order for the day, and the lunch option for the day is spaghetti with meatballs, Jammy Sammy plate, and yogurt plate. Those are Jammy Sammy and yogurt are like always the options for everything, and the first thing always rotates. So spaghetti with meatballs was our thing, and then that led to on top of spaghetti. And then I come after that song is over, ding ding, the announcement comes on. Hey PRE, so sorry, but we have to make a change with our lunch for today because someone was walking by the lunchroom and sneezed too hard, and now we're all out of meatballs. So we're gonna change, and we've found this great chowder. We're gonna make this really delicious chowder. We're very excited about it. Here's what a chowder is. It's a blah 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 soup with blah, and you can have. And so, okay, so your new options are chowder with saltine crackers, Jammy Sammy plate, or yogurt plate. Please send your updated lunch count to the front office. And then we sang Mrs. Murphy's Chowder. And then after that, the alarm goes off. So sorry, PRE, to interrupt again, but as we were dishing out the chowder, we found some overalls in the chowder, so we can't serve that. So basically it was like that for every song. Like, what's the next thing? How does it connect to the song before and the song next? Each little announcement was short and silly. By the time I was done, the concert was done, especially for the assembly for school, when a song would end and they'd hear that ching ching of come on again, they'd all go, oh no, another announcement. And apparently the lead secretary in the front office was like, I kept hearing that chime sound, but nobody was doing an announcement building wide, and I couldn't figure out what it was. So it was hilarious, but it was the way to give that sort of connective tissue between all the songs, theme them all together. It was like, and then at the very end, it was like, we're having so much trouble in the lunchroom, we're just going to order pizza. I hope that's okay. And then that led to Pizza Love. So it was like an easy way to theme it all together. My students didn't have to say any speaking parts. I didn't have to stand up and say anything because I could just press play and go. And it was funny. And so it was just a fun way to connect all that together. What do we do for costumes? I encourage kids to dress like a chef, dress like a cook, dress like anything related to that. If they had a shirt with food on it, if they had a shirt with the name of their favorite restaurant, they could wear that. If they had a costume that was food, they could wear that. So I had a weird smattering of things. I was like, any of that's fine. I also feel like I personally don't want to say to parents, like, you need to go spend money and buy a costume of blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not my jam. My first many years teaching were at very, very, very low socioeconomic schools, and my parents, even if I had wanted to say, hey, they need to come in with a whatever costume, those parents, it was not an option. So ever since then, I was like, there are so many other ways you can do costumes where kids will feel comfortable and have fun, and you don't need them to wear a certain t-shirt or spend money on something for that one night. So I had a lot of parents who they found t-shirts or had t-shirts or things with like a restaurant or food or whatever. There was one kid who wore this like electric orange and yellow hoodie that said like Maruchan Ramen, which is hilarious. I had one girl come as a hot dog, one kid come in a banana costume, one kid wear this huge, clearly vintage, looked like a chocolate chip cookie costume. It was hilarious. I wore this, I don't know if you can see it. It's an apron that says Maestro on it. I got it when I visited Austria many, many years ago. It was like right outside of Mozart's home or something. I also wore this pizza hat because I have a pizza hat. I was deciding whether I wanted to do a pizza hat or my other option, a hamburger hat, because I also have that. I think I also have a pie hat. Anyway, many options. But that's what we wore. It was super hilarious and fun. And that sort of just tied everything together. It was just a super fun night for kids. It was fun for us to share all these sort of silly songs. It was great that I could pull in songs we had already done through the year, so I didn't have to teach as much, and it all stayed in with their grade level curriculum. So it was like win, 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 win. And we just had a lot of fun, which is super ultimate goal. I want kids to love making music and being in a performance like this. So then what do I do after the concert? I take literally a version of everything that I have and I put it in a folder and I save it for in case I want to do this concert again. So like the concert program, right, that I did, and with names and whatever. And then, here's one more thing. Anytime I do a concert, I do this little like map of the gym so that parents know where to sit to like see their class, their students in the class. So like, here's general seating, here's the stage, here's the order they're going to stand in, so you like know where to look. So if you want to see stage left, if you have so-and-so in class. So that's another sort of a map I always try and sort of keep. So if there's like a poem or something I wrote, or like, so The Pigeon Finds a Hot Dog, that book, I wrote a little rhythm or a poem to go with it. I write that down and then I put that in the folder. Pictures of standing charts, seating charts. If I wrote down my like rehearsal process, like the QR that I used for the program, I put that in there. Literally anything else that I'm like, this might be nice. If I have like sheet music that I have like printed off from like an online, because now, like when I went to Music K8 to get the PDF download of Pizza Love, I got a download and I was like, well, I'm going to print that off and put that in here so that years later, if I've lost the digital file, I still have that